Hello and welcome to Small Game Adventures. I am Mootle, and today we're going to be looking at Pixel Dungeon, just the beginning steps, so how to survive the first depth in Pixel Dungeon, the basic game mechanics and a bit of an intro and a beginner's guide to Pixel Dungeon and how to play. When you first open up Pixel Dungeon, you'll be presented with this front screen. Obviously our rankings and badges in the middle there will be updated as we play more and more with all our achievements, and the about will tell us a bit about the developer and the game itself. So obviously we're going to get straight into it and hit play here. At any one time, you can play 4 different games. So I have 4 different games running, one for each hero category. The Huntress we'll ignore for now because it's an unlockable character, but you can unlock that later by playing a little bit more. The other 3 categories are the Warrior, the Mage, and the Rogue. Now we can pull up special stats on each of these characters by double clicking on them. So the Warrior starts with 11 points of strength. He automatically has a unique little short sword, which is very handy, that can be reforged later on, and we'll go into a different tutorial on that. Any food that he eats will also generate health, and he automatically identifies potions of strength right from the beginning. He's also not very good at missile weapons, but we don't tend to use those much with the warrior anyway. The second category, the Mage, is a little bit harder to play. He starts with a Wand of Magic Missile, which is similar to the short sword of the warrior, and this can be disenchanted later on as well. Mages can also equip their wands as a melee weapon, which is a very unique and handy ability to have. Their wands recharge faster, and when they eat food they get an extra charge in all of their wands. They also identify scrolls of Identify right from the beginning, and you'll see how useful that is once you've been playing for a little while. The Rogue probably sits between the Warrior and the Mage in difficulty wise. Their special equipment is the Ring of Shadows that they start with, and they identify any ring that you equip with them automatically without having to just wait around for a while. They're pretty good in light armor, and they're very good at detecting hidden doorways and traps, which becomes a big player later on in the game. Rogues don't have to eat as much as the other 2 categories, and they automatically identify scrolls of magic mapping. So we're going to start with the Warrior here. When we hit New Game, we're going to go into the game here, descend to the first level, and this is our HUD, where everything goes on in Pixel Dungeon. The map here, we can scroll in and out on the map by using our 2 fingers and scrolling in and out. It's up to you how close you want to be to your character, but I prefer about here when I'm playing. Now top left is our hero stats, our health, our level is the number there, and if we click on our character, we come up with our stats here. Now top left here, if we click catalogs, it catalogs all of our potions and scrolls that we've identified. All of them start unidentified as default, and we need to identify those as we go through. It's randomly generated which one is what, so there's no way of telling when you first start the game. But as we go through and identify them, they'll get logged in there. Our journal can also be accessed here, but obviously it's empty at the moment. That automatically updates as we play the game. We can also access our buffs, which we don't have any at the moment, but those also will pop up. Top left up here we have depth there, and the number of keys that we have for this depth, and the settings menu. If we click on here, click on settings, we can have a look at I guess sound values and our sound effects and brightness, default zoom. Brightness is a bit of a weird one. You might want to use it, you might not. It can be helpful. I don't tend to use it very much. It just lights up your walls and your area a little bit more. It might be helpful on some sort of phones and iPads. Always activate your second quick slot. That's a very useful feature to have. Just gives you a bit more access in your HUD. Bottom left down here we have 3 buttons. The wait button, which will just wait for 1 turn. The search button, which will search the box around you for 2 turns. And a question mark button, which basically allows you to just have a look at what's in the game. You click the question mark, click on anything else, and it will give you a quick description of what it is. Bottom right here we have our backpack. Now in our backpack is where everything goes on. Our weapon here, the short sword in the top left, requires 11 strength. That's what that number is there on the right hand corner of it. A handy little weapon. Our second slot there is for our armor. Our equipped armor, which is a cloth armor that comes default with all of the different heroes, requires 9 strength, so everyone can use it obviously. And we have 2 ring slots that we can equip wings in later. We also have darts here, required level of 10 for darts, sorry, required strength of 10 for darts, and we have 8 darts, so the number on the top left is the number that we have. And food rations, we start with 1 food ration by default, which is very handy. We have a key bag here, which will allow us to store all our keys in one place, and that's down the bottom, the tab there is where we keep our keys. We're going to ignore that book now, it's not important. The way to move around in Pixel Dungeon is just to click or tap on the square that you want to move to. So you can move 1 square at a time, you can move a whole bunch of squares at a time just by tapping. It is turn-based, so each one of these movements takes 1 turn. Now our map is pretty basic. It's made up of rooms, corridors, and a whole bunch of enemies really. We're in a room at the moment. Obviously we walk through a door to get somewhere else, so this is a corridor we're in now. There's some long grass. Long grass sometimes drops dewdrops, which will heal you, and seeds, which are a fun item that you'll explore later on. Always walk on the long grass, always try and pick up all of those dewdrops and seeds. Whenever you click on something, you'll try and activate that. So this is a locked door here. We need a key for that, which we'll find somewhere on this level. For every locked door on a depth, you will find a key on that depth as well, and the keys are depth specific. So clicking on things will activate them. We're going to run around a little bit here, trying filling out the whole thing. Look, we found a marsupial rat here, which is our first enemy. They're not too hard. We're going to hit him there. We're going to retreat through a doorway. Now, retreating through a doorway gives you 100% accuracy on your next attack. If the mob has just followed you through, if that makes sense. There's a skeleton here, which is a type of remains. This is actually a hero remains, which means a hero on a different depth has died. We're not going to go into those mechanics at the moment, but these wraiths can be really nasty. They have really, really high evasion, so you can't really hit them with a normal melee attack. If we try here, we're just going to keep on. It's going to keep you on evading all of our attacks. So what we can do is we can back through a doorway. We get that 100% accuracy hit when we back through a doorway, and we can kill the wraith. So doorways are your number one friend in Pixel Dungeon. Number one. So that hero remains has dropped another little short sword, which is pretty handy. That purple color there means that it's cursed. So if we equip that, we actually can't unequip it until we've used a scroll of cleansing or uncursing or whatever it's called. But we'll ignore that for now. All of the rooms, or as a general rule, most of the rooms in your dungeon or your depth will have something in them, whether it's an enemy or some items. There'll be something around. So we basically want to explore every single floor, every single room on every single depth. We don't want to miss anything. Missing things is a big pain because you're very highly reliant on all of your items that you're going to pick up. This is to go down the depth. If we click search on here, next time when we want to go down the next depth, that's when we go down those stairs there. We've got two enemies in here, so we're going to use our range weapon. We're not very good at using range, but you may as well use it because otherwise you've got to wait by the door. You don't really want to walk into a room that's got more than one monster in it, and you want to be next to a door so that you can kite backwards through the door like this to get that extra accuracy hit off. Notice when we attack with a ranged weapon and we miss, so we don't hit them, it actually drops on the floor, so we can pick those back up again and use them later, which is always very handy. So we've got a scroll here, we've got a potion, we've got an unidentified sword. We're not going to identify any of those things just yet. We're going to wait till the very end until we've picked up all the items in the depth before we start identifying things. Just going to basically focus on finding all the rooms, finding all the items, and killing all the mobs that we can. Notice that when a mob dies in a doorway, it actually leaves the doorway open, so we can't get that extra hit off. And because the rat was one block away, we didn't want to walk at it. If we walked at it, it's the rat's turn, he'll attack us and get a first attack off, which is not so good. So we hit the wait button there, just to let him come through the door, and then we can hit him. We can see our key. We've got one key. That also shows up top right hand corner of the screen there, along with the depth sign. Shows us how many keys we've got for that depth, which is also very handy, which means we can go and unlock that door if we want to. If the door's right next to you, then sure, unlock it. But don't go out of your way. Like, you don't want to waste too many steps in this game, because your hunger does play a large role. So we're going to go up and probably unlock this door here. There's a whole bunch of different rooms that you can find through a locked door. This one is a statue room, which means that there's a stone statue in the middle, which is non-aggro right from the beginning. If we click search on it, it'll actually tell us what weapon the animated statue is holding. The animated statue will use that weapon, but also drops that weapon if we kill it. If we want to kill it, we don't have to. It won't automatically attack us. But venomous knuckle dust is pretty handy. You've got to be really wary of these statues. If they're holding something like a glaive or a warhammer, they're probably going to kill you in one hit. You've only got 20 health at level 1. So whilst it would be really handy to have that weapon, you're not in a position to take on that statue, because it's a really powerful weapon that it's using against you. So that's just a friendly note there. The more powerful, the more desirable the weapon, the harder it is going to be to kill. So you might have to use seeds and potions and weird kind of things to try and kill the statue rather than taking him on manually. We've pretty much searched out most of this level, so we're going to have a look at our scrolls. You can just use the scroll or potion to identify it. That one was an upgrade scroll, which is kind of nice. This scroll here is going to give us recharging. That's a recharge scroll, so we've now identified those. If we pick up those scrolls again, we'll know exactly what they are. That was a potion of paralytic gas, which is unfortunate. Notice how I'm standing in the water when I'm identifying potions, and I identify scrolls first, because if I get a potion of fire, it will both burn up the scrolls in my inventory and set me on fire and do damage. So if I'm standing in water, it will put those out, and if I don't have any scrolls in my inventory, then they can't burn up. See our journal there tells us we've got a statue on this level, and our buffs say that we're starving now. That's automatically updating as we go. Starving is something that you're going to come across a lot in Pixel Dungeon. It's something you've got to get used to. Looking at this door is actually open, and we didn't leave it open, so that means that there's a mob coming through there that's going to come up. So we could either run away or go and attack it. Handy little tip, not something that you're going to see all that often, but we do know that there's an enemy there. There's probably a bit more an advanced tip, but it's something that's kind of cool to point out that I noticed when I was recording this. Back to health. The way you get out of your starving buff is to eat food, but because the warrior automatically gains health when we eat food, we don't want to waste that extra health gain. So right now, if we ate the food, we'd heal right to full and we wouldn't be starving anymore. When you're not starving, you automatically gain a little bit of health as you go. So ideally you want to actually let your health drop down a bit more before you eat something. When you're starving, you will lose health like this as you go, but that's not so much of a problem. And now what we're going to do is we're going to fight the statue here. So we are going to eat some food just to make ourselves full health, because we're going to go into a fight, but you don't always need to eat it when your health is that high. Food can become a rare commodity later on in the game sometimes, so it's always handy to try and preserve that as much as you can. To activate a hidden statue, you just need to do some damage to it, really. We've just hit it there to activate it. We've kited back through the door and got a couple of hits off, and that was a pretty easy fight, so we haven't lost much health there. And I was pretty confident, like knuckle dusters don't actually do that much damage at this point, but a +1 venomous is still better than our sword at the moment, I'd say. That enchantment on it, so we'll equip that. We can do that. Those automatically become identified if you kill it off a statue. All other weapon drops will tend to be unidentified, so you have to work out what they are, and they might be cursed. So be a bit careful with those. Again, another episode in identifying and using weapons that are above your strength level. So our level's pretty much complete there. We can see all the rooms. There's no doors that we haven't gone through. We're pretty happy. We're level 2. Never go down the depth to depth 2 without being level 2 first. And that holds for every level in the game. So if you're going down to depth 5, make sure that you're level 5. Go down to depth 20, make sure that you're level 20. There's 26 levels in the depths in the game, and 26 is the max level cap, so it's a pretty easy maths there. So once we've completed the depth, we're just going to go down to the next depth. And I hope that's been a little bit interesting. Obviously we're not going to go through a full walkthrough here. That's just a bit of an intro on how to play the game. Hope that was useful. If you have any ideas or questions, things that you want to see in coming up episodes, please let me know. Either send me an IM message or just leave a comment on the video. That'd be really, really handy to see what people want. And until the next video, I hope you keep on playing and have fun, and I hope that was useful.